Bubba, thank you so much for being here. And we can start, like by making a brief intro. Can you take us in your like academic background,
Mm,
professional experience?
sure, Yvonne. Yeah, thanks for having me, and I honored honestly to be here because there is a ton of content you put out that if I
Mhm.
had all the years of my life to actually go through your content, I wouldn't have enough time. So there's a lot of really good stuff. So I'm gonna have to chat GPT your life just to see how much content you have and digest it. But um, yeah, so thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm super honored. And then I would say for me, the academic side, I really have only been a teacher like professionally for 10 years. And
Mhm.
I guess that's old for a millennial, to be honest. To be in one area for so many years, but I've also been in traditional sports for 25 years and in the nonprofit world for 25 years, but also in esports for 5 years. And yeah, so I've got a fun, long history of lots of different things and lots of different industries, and it just I definitely feel like a fun anomaly of different things. It's fun to know more than just one thing about something. So yeah,
Mhm.
I got a lot of stuff in the past.
Okay, and what made you like make the shift from sports to esports? Because it's a
Hmm.
kind of a similar history with me. Like I come from
Mm,
like the traditional sports background, and then
right.
I found my way into esports. But
Well, there was the catalyst started. The catalyst actually started with my dad working at Radio Shack when I was a kid. And him working
Mhm.
at Radio Shack when I was a kid made me nerdy and made me get into tech. And that idea of being at the being at the store and learning all about computers and building computers and other things, playing remote control cars, that was just part of my life growing up. And uh, I think that was where it started. So it turned into a career later. I think I had a lot of wasted time for many years of people saying, "Hey, can you fix my computer? Can you? It's got a virus. Can you upgrade it?" Like I don't want to be the IT guy, but I can. And during all those years, I was working in traditional sports at the YMCA, Parks and Rec, Chamber of Commerce, other types of sports organizations, refereed many a sports, been a sports official for too many years, taught classes in officiating. And then when there was just 2017, I started learning about Twitch and Facebook gaming. At that time, Facebook gaming was starting up its world, and Twitch for me was a place that it seemed like a thing where people could build a brand, and it was new. It was only like 4 or 5 years old at that time, and I got to start being like one of the first art streamers on Twitch. I was making Photoshop artwork
Mhm.
on Twitch, doing people's emotes and Twitch logos and stuff. And that turned into kind of a little business for me. And then after that, I got more into gaming and understanding what this world of what is esports. And when I was working at the Chamber of Commerce, I hosted an esports event, first gaming event, and had like 800 people come. Met some really cool people. Met Mason from the high school esports league here in Kansas City. Well, not here. I'm not there anymore. I'm in London, obviously. Uh, in Kansas City, and we started the nonprofit charity that I am the president of, the Video Games and Esports Foundation. And that's how it all started, getting into esports. And I dove way too deep into esports, and now live it and breathe it and talk about it in my sleep. So that's where we are right now.
Yes, and yeah, in this talk, I really wanted, to talk with you about like students and how you develop students both like in the esports media, events and marketing. Okay, because like I found really fascinating what you guys are doing in College of Esports. Okay, and I also wanted to use this talk also to like see like how you guys develop students and stuff like this. Okay, so like I wanted to ask you, like, what are like the main skills that
Mm,
you look to develop in
hmm.
students? It could be hard or soft, but like, what are the main skills?
Yeah. Well, luckily for me, I mean, yeah, I do events management, But when we look at skills, these are really all transferable skills. Even though it's a bespoke university,
Hmm.
we've got about 200 plus students and probably about 400, 500 in the fall or in term one of later this year. It's still transferable skills. So even though they may be doing broadcasting or they may be doing social media or storytelling with an audience or interviewing on camera work, kind of what we're doing now, or coaching. We have coaching degrees, and we have a coaching degree. We have games, art, design, development type degrees where people are building video games. And so even though it's College of Esports, there is the game side, because otherwise we wouldn't have games to play competitively. And so with all of these skills we're teaching, from the assessments and the coursework we're doing, from creating digital stories to presenting sponsorship decks in front of organizations and actually running live events, that's all the fun stuff that I just get to spend 10 weeks teaching them stuff before they create a presentation or an event or a digital asset or something of that kind. Or our friends in the games design, like Lewis, he's helping them create video games and do sculpting in 3D and building in Unity, Unreal Engine. So all these transferable skills, even though it's tied and we focus on esports, it's really a business degree in marketing or media or management or events management, or a degree in coaching management or in games, but it's all really just business in the context of esports. And so those are then just transferable skills to be able to use in any industry, just as we all know with like Nico Basome's chart with all this stuff on it. You just take esports out and put NBA or FIFA or anything, and it's all the same jobs. So really, it's just a fun way to engage the students. It's, as Kevin Brown would say, like the chocolate on the broccoli or whatever it may be to get students in. It helps just as much as esports in schools does anywhere else in the world.
Amazing. And for like you mentioned, like esports events, you mentioned that you focus more on like live events. Do you also focus on how to develop online events or like a hybrid model? Because like we
Yes.
see a lot of like first phases online, finals or semifinal, finals live, and that's very common in esports. So how do you do that?
I mean, the students, well, what's really cool is even though the students are at College of Esports doing projects and assignments, I'm a student, I'm doing stuff to get an A. There's practical work within the assignments, but what's really great is the focused attention on the extracurricular, or what Philip Wilson, our CEO, says is tri-curriculum, because it's about learning in the classroom, doing stuff, but also being world ready. And world ready is the stuff they just did a few weeks ago, creating an event on our campus that was a live event for Call of Duty, and then a few weeks before that, a Halo event, and even coming up soon, maybe even a Rocket League event. But some of those actually did require online. Actually, I think all of them actually do require online virtual series qualifiers. So they're doing it practically for assessment and learning how to do it in class for their assignments for class. But then they are sometimes learning it before. And I mean, January is the start of a class. By February, they're already running a whole event because of some event we have on campus partnership. And then they're reflecting back like, oh, I did this, and I'm actually going to run my own little event that is a part of my class structure. But gosh, I'm doing pretty well at running event, or vice versa. It's just, that's the structure and the nature of events. So yes, hybrid, online, in person. There's so many really cool spaces here in London that they get to use on campus and off. And it's fun to be that event nerd with them and just like, hey, what do you think about putting this chair over here? Is that going to help with flow? Or what do you think about customer experience? Just asking those kind of questions in the moment is helpful. Or they're making content. We're making content today for a show that they're producing. Like, hey, just to let you know, the kind of feedback I'll give you when you guys submit this video for your grade is you should get more B-roll. So are you guys going to go get more B-roll now since I gave you some feedback while we're doing it? Oh, okay, let's get some more B-roll. So they're doing a lot of cool stuff at the same time.
That's amazing. And other all the students in College of Esports where you're currently working, do they like when you talk to their parents? Are the parents are usually supportive? Do they understand, or did
Hmm.
you have to like educate the parents on like what you
Hmm.
offer and the job opportunities they can get,
Yeah.
or how did it work? Because for
Yeah.
us, so sometimes we have these parents
Hmm.
that we really have to educate them from zero and explain, what universities, have college esports programs in the US and Canada and stuff like
Hmm.
this. But like, how does it work with you?
Man, Ivan, I'll tell you, it's been a shift, dude. It's been a shift trying to defend the grand theft fallacy that so good that gosh, what's his name? He wrote the book Mortal Kombat. Oh, it's relieved my head. He just wrote a bunch of stuff. Anyways, it's in the States, it was fighting off this grand theft fallacy, as it's put, as video games are violent, right? That's the state's kind of bad, actually what we're now referring to as bad science, where a lobbyist pays a scientist to um, do a study that it's actually just proving some
Hmm.
politician's point, right? To here, yeah, because there is a lot of diversity, a lot of different countries living in London, going to school in London, students from different areas. It's a different mix. There's different regional mixes on video games are bad, video games are not the scene as violent, and the violence kind of thing is really isn't a thing here. Like,
Hmm.
and that's to many of our points. What weapons are available in the states heavily that aren't available in every part of the world else? Of course, firearms. So that's why it's an interesting conversation, because over here, I'm not having to defend the video game violence. I'm really just saying, here's all the great benefits. It's a much easier job here in Europe to convince people that video games are have their have much more benefit than non-benefits compared to the States. So I'd say the conversations are a little easier. The conversations with parents can be a little easier as we all get older, because as we all get older as millennial parents, we all
Hmm.
play video games. We play Nintendo. If we're, like me, you're in your 40s or in your 50s, a Gen X, they're used to Atari and Nintendo. It may have seemed like, oh, that's what I played a long time ago. But I would definitely say over here, the conversations are a little easier, but still going to be that here's all the benefits, here's tools. I was just in Parents Magazine this last week talking about how
Yeah.
do you get your kids to screen time usage. Well, you sit down, you play with them, and you understand the game.
Yeah. Sometimes it's that, like when they're like they have this lack of information, when they're
Mhm.
ignorant, like lack of information, they are scared for the kids because they don't know about it and they want the best for the kids, but once they understand it, are like, oh, okay, you know
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
every family is a world. But yeah. And yeah, yeah. And regarding marketing, what would you say are the main um differences between sports marketing and esports marketing for those that don't know? And how do you
Yeah, it's a
teach it
great.
in College of Esports?
Okay, that's a great question, Yvonne. There are very little differences, to be honest.
Hmm.
That's why I think we as an industry, being as young as we are, esports being only 25 years old technically as a term, right? Since it was started as the term in Korea back in 2099, this idea of our industry is comprised of experts from outside of our industry. And we're going to be that for a while until we get these graduates out in May from the College of Esports to be these ones who say, I'm the first graduating class of the College of Esports. Yes, of course, 200, if not, well, we'd have to ask Seth Jenny for sure. He's the best, he's the most accurate on this, of how many universities across the globe have some form of academic esports degree or pathway or certificate. But over the past 5-6 years, we've seen that increase. So marketing it from the inside out, we have to have those marketing geniuses who have done marketing for every other industry types, and that's what we're lucky with. That means we can learn well, but we also struggle because those marketing people didn't start inside. There's pros and cons. I think when we're talking about the College of Esports and what we're marketing, and if it's different, um, it's like I said at the beginning, it's transferable skills. So they may learn the context of esports and gaming and how to develop a story and maybe gamify things a little easier because they're used to it. But it's community engagement, just like a sports team. It's fan engagement, just like a sports team, or just like a product. It's social media. It's influencers. I mean, do you know any new video game that doesn't have an influencer playing it on Twitch?
People relate to other people. They don't relate to brands. So that's why, the brand has to leverage the influencers, because that's, how universities, NIL in traditional sports are doing, like many other beverages are doing it with, are also putting influencers. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%, man. Even if it's not just the esports player, but it's the recreational player of a game. Yeah. That's it's brand driven through that player just as much as I want Messi's jersey or Ronaldo's jersey. I want, a Fnatic Faker jersey. It's the same marketing. It's just a different vertical.
Yeah. I don't want to go onto another direction, but I will, because like you mentioned, like esports degrees, and I want to know. So in my opinion, I think like a lot of universities, that are accredited, or some that are just like private companies that did like degrees or master's degrees. Some do a great job, some okay, it's questionable. But like for me, it's like who like the industry professional that is teaching the degree and the experience they have, and what they can teach. What else do you think is key for students to like when they are searching for to do like something related to esports management or something to esports? Like, what are the key things that they should focus on when searching?
Well, look, Ivan, I kind of put you in the category of the best watchdog we have in North America. I mean, if you're if esporting, right, is your company, and you're doing what you're doing with helping place students, I when I reflect on what you've shown me, first of all, I look at, well, if you would be the best one for me to understand what universities offer, especially in North America. If we're talking about Europe, we've got a long way to go. We're a bit behind here, but making a choice on what kind of esports degree pathway or university to look at. Yeah, I think 6 years ago we were having the conversation that hopefully people have gotten away from in higher ed, is I'm slapping an E on the communications course and calling it my esports minor. And when it comes to industry professionals, of course, a place like Syracuse and a place like Syracuse is the easiest example right now with with the new staff there, and them also being the coach as well as the director, but an educator. Like, why not have the director of the esports program also teach a bunch of classes? And it's much different than a high school football coach is covering social studies or something in an American school. It's a much different thing than like, oh, I'm going to make sure my football coach is teaching, but they're just like covering in-house suspension class or something. So it's a much cooler way to get experts in the room. What I really love about College of Esports, though, and I guess I could say humbly, like, oh, well, I'm an expert. I'll teach you event stuff out, and it's not just esports. But instead of having like our games design, I really rely on our games design as the best example, and then our coaching degrees here at the College of Esports is the games design is led by a guy who worked at Rockstar, and he knows his stuff, and that's what's cool. Instead of just like we hired an art teacher to teach 3D art and teach 3D design, and maybe now they need to like learn how to teach Unity or something. Like that's what I love. It's fun that was kind of what really drew me over here, Ivan, was that question you just posed of expertise. Well, we've got that, and we've got people who have been esport coaches and are on Olympic teams coaching, teaching coaching management degrees. And then I guess little old me, nerd in esports events, who's like used to run a Super Bowl every Saturday for soccer and basketball. Like, I love events. Let me teach you kids about events. So it's out there.
Amazing. And like in the classes, when you use like case studies about like companies selling a product or service, or like doing events, or like teams themselves, what are the common things that you teach them, that what they are doing or what they could do better, you know, so like they, when they graduate, you know, they have a different perspective
Sure.
on how to do things. What are those points?
Well, we let's just say all of our lectures would be, let's say for a marketing class, all of our lectures are about making assets or something and doing social media and PR. Let's just say there's a class that's all about social media, PR, and asset graphics and building. Well, we could teach that course in any university, right? We could teach that style and information, and the final assignments and projects would be all submit your assessment, submit your social media plan, your marketing campaign, whatever, PR, press releases. So that's your assessment. And then the typical university would have said, make it about ethical issues in media and IP rights or something, right? So, well, we do the same thing. We just say, we'll make the specific part of it about ethical issues in esports IP with video game licenses for esports tournaments. So we're not doing anything that's outlandish. It's just context. So that's what's really cool about it, is that leads to this layer that allows us to build on this more and more connection. Oh, let's look at case studies about Fnatic. Let's look at instead of like a case study about Exxon or something. Let's look at these cool esports case studies and go out to do esports events and actually do marketing for an esports event as part of your assessment.
Yeah. What you just said, so something has popped up that wasn't in the description of what we were going to talk about. Okay, but like,
okay, great.
I do really want to know, like, because with all the assessment thing on and how you work with students, like how do you teach them how to use AI? Because like I do it in class, and I teach them, like, I use AI with them, okay, and I teach them what is, like, what serves, what doesn't serve, okay.
Yes.
To teach them how to differentiate, okay, because like what AI spits, okay, is, you know, everyone can, there's no substance, but like when they, you know, can use it, can identify the key things, and then rewrite them themselves, you know, like AI can provide the structure, okay, but like, so how do you
you haven't said anything different than we say, to be honest. And honey, we're gonna need like 2 more hours to talk about AI. So that's like literally that's all the stuff I think about all the time.
We said half an hour.
So okay, if students are watching, now is the meat of the conversation. How can I use ChatGPT to get an A? So stick around. We'll be right here. Okay, my big thing with this is no one has it right. None of us have it right. None of us have any idea. Any university, we've only got guidelines. There's the policies that some universities put out, which I've looked at a ton. They're going to have to change next week, you know? And so I really love Lewis, who I mentioned earlier, who's our head of games at the College of Esports. He's got this really cool thing with Adobe, and Adobe put out, since their generative AI stuff, which helped me kind of make this background today, by the way, is really cool because they have this chart that we were looking to implement, which is kind of really didn't follow me to like do at our university, but I'm like, I want to do this. I want to help our students understand how to use this because I use it constantly for my business world things that I do. And what I really loved is Adobe created this tool, this chart of 1 through 5. And so what I'm hoping to do is implement it, because it then is a rubric for our students to let them know what level of AI we are okay with for this assessment. Level 1, if I recall, is no AI usage whatsoever, all own content. Level 5 is use AI for the whole thing. So we kind of fall, you just said, and what we typically say is level 3, help it create your structure, help it with giving you an outline, and then you create your own writing. So that's like the baseline. I think that a lot of universities are saying, unless they're so old school, they're like, don't use ChatGPT, it's the devil, whatever. So here, the big thing about it is, you and I and all the rest of us teachers have to have this conversation constantly, and we have to keep going to these seminars, which I've been to a lot of seminars, online webinars, conferences. We've got to go to more of them, but we also have to push this silly idea that every kind of tech and education and conference of any kind, everybody's slapping the sexy word of, oh, this is our AI product. You see my AI thumb drive, and it's AI. Did you want to buy 1 million of them? Great. Here's AI. And like, oh, cool. I'll buy 1,000 because you said AI, and I'm a boomer and I have no idea what it is. So
it sells very well.
So we have to get away from the sexiness of it and the stigma of it all at the same time, and be able to have conversations. But it's going to change next week, and we're going to have to adapt and change constantly because it's too fast. And then quantum computing is going to make it worse.
AI every time an upgraded version, and it's even more complex, and it can do even more things. And uni, like, we just turn it in, okay, and there's regulations like if it's more than 30%, it's AI. But sometimes what tool can actually get it right to find cheating or plagiarism right? There's no tool that's actually going to do it right, even though they say it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes like the option that I do is like, okay, present the report or present the thing.
That's it.
And when you can actually talk about it, it means that you understood it, okay, without like looking at the report. Okay?
That's it. What's interesting, that once back to Lewis, I mentioned 3 times, you owe me a drink, Lewis, wherever you are, is that he is wanting them to turn their game assessments in, their game design assessments, of recording of them actually editing the code and editing the graphics they make. So it's a recorded video of their screen. So that helps with plagiarism. That helps with creating generative AI images, which at his thing, like, oh, create a structure that's an AI generative head or whatever. Now take that in and build your own around it. Like, there's still use of AI in game assessments all across universities, as well as game design for many games. So we're like, oh man, should we do this where we need to see all the version history of their edits on their Google Drive file or something? Is that one way? Or do they need to record them typing? Like, what's it going to take? And what's like too much? It's like, this is the old age question of, do I let my kids play video games, or do I put their Xbox under the lawnmower? Like, what do I do? So we have to have these conversations constantly, and no tools ever get it right because AI is too fast.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Bubba, like, amazing conversations and topics. That's what I love about live talks. Not like a podcast, which is edited. It's like live talk. We just talk. We're gonna talk about such certain topics, and we ended up talking about.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Yeah, I should have done it in the middle of the live talk. No, but like, is there any other subject that you would like to touch on that we didn't before we wrap this up?
I'm always going to talk as a cis white male. I have no idea what it's like to be any other thing, and any other gender or race or whatever. And I constantly want to fight online disinhibition, where you're hiding behind your keyboard, toxicity, over hypersexualization, over domestication, the in-party chats. Sadly, why I don't let my kids play Roblox kind of situations in gaming. That there's too much stuff to control out there, and we're doing a horrible job as a world and a society making it safe for anyone and everyone. And if I let my kids just play whatever game and use any sort of chat, 30 years later, their therapist is going to say, your parents didn't protect you. So we got a lot of work to do, man. And toxicity is a struggle for us, and we are a lost leader when it comes to toxicity on the internet. It's not just social media, it's in game. And as much as there's an AI way in Siege, whatever, that came out this last year of banning people when they say a bad word or whatever, that's still not foolproof. So we are where we are with it, but we got to do better. And I'm just a cis white male who hopefully can be an ally, but I have nothing to relate to other than use these resources like toxicityrating.com, Melanin Gamers, Game Hers, Women in Games International. I mean, there's just a long list. Like, get involved and have conversations.
Amazing. Hey, Chris, how's it going? And also Nitesh from Nepal here.
Hello.
Anything you want to say to Chris before we wrap up?
Which Chris is on the LinkedIn or?
Chris Turner.
Oh, I don't know that guy.
He's like, the goat has entered the room.
Yeah, like we all just step away now. Just see you later. Chris is here as he shines in. Hey, bro, thanks for coming, man. I miss you, man. I miss you. You got to come over and visit, obviously, in London. I'll show you around, and we'll get subpar, non-tasty English food, but we'll get other food that's not from this country when you come, because it's much better than the food here. So that's what I got to say to Chris. Just come hang out. When you stopping over for Ghana, take a trip, because I know you're going to go there. Stop over here in London.
Okay. Amazing, man. Well, Bubba, thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for your time, man. And next time, maybe sooner than later. Okay.
Great. Appreciate it, brother.